would you like to tell us a little bit about your job at Covea Insurance and a little bit about you?
Okay, so I've recently moved into a new role at Covea. I'm now the Engineering Experience and Process Principal, which is the world's best job title, or worst, depending on your perspective. Basically, look after engineering's well-being and their career progression and their growth as people, because engineers are people too. And also making sure that our processes for getting things through to live and through the pipeline are as good as they can be, and champion engineering when we need to make the changes. Been at Covea for about 17 months. I came there as an engineering manager, and I've been in this role for about 3.5 weeks.
Fab. So obviously keeping in mind connectivity within a hybrid world and high-performing teams within a hybrid world, which is what this is all about today, what does a return to work look like for you?
For me personally, or for engineers?
For you personally and your team at Covea.
So for me, it's one of the things that I've sort of really pushed on at the moment, because we're doing some recruiting at the moment, and that's the biggest question that people have now. You know, the pandemic has caused this massive flux in how people look at work and look at where they're based, look at the social interaction, etc. So what we did at Covea was we did a survey. That's called a survey in this, in English, but survey in a different one. My crazy language. And we just asked people what they felt, what would they be comfortable with. Obviously, we don't know quite yet, how things are going to move. Hopefully, June the 21st is still when everything gets lifted, but we need to make sure that we're meeting our engineers' needs as well now. So maybe it will be, we're yet to make a full nailed-on decision on this. But for engineers, we've worked in cross-site teams now. So at Covea, we've got 3 locations. We've got Halifax, Reading, and Westmoreland. And some of our squads are now mixed. So return to the office would actually be detrimental to some people, because they're returning to an office to then remote into the rest of their team. So engineers don't need to be in the office all the time. I personally think that we will probably have you can come into the office as and when you want, because some people want that social interaction. Some people have lived on their own by themselves, and apart from the last few weeks when they've been able to go to the pub and order a pint, then, they've had very little social interaction. So maybe they need those water cooler chats going forward. So people that want to come into the office will provide access. People that don't will then make sure that they're set up in a way that they can actually work remotely and not be impacted by anything. Not miss the water cooler chats. And part of my new role is how we put that experience in, how we make sure that they're in the right place.
Yeah, fab. So obviously you mentioned there that water cooler conversations. Do you think seeing the hybrid model will see those conversations fizzle out for those who don't come into the office?
I think it depends on your workforce and your culture of your organisation, because those water cooler chats over the last 14 months have been Slack or Teams. And people have done little things here and there to make sure they're still checking with people, and they might have a network where they've got colleagues and workmates, but they might have a few mates as well. So they still have a chat on the phone or WhatsApp and whatever. So I don't think you'll miss out on them. It's maybe the spontaneity of them that you miss out. They might need to be more structured. You might need to make a bit more of an effort to have those. There's little initiatives that we're thinking about of maybe just having a day or a Teams meeting open, so people can just drop in if they just want a bit of downtime, like a downtime breakout room or something like that, and we can get Scribbler on there, or play some music or whatever, just to try and break that monotony sometimes. So yeah,
that's a great idea. So with that, obviously with having kind of a mix of some people working in the office and some people working from home, Do you think that will see a lot of companies scaling down their offices if they're also following the same approach, or if Covea will be scaling down their offices?
I think it's an interesting thing. So you'd think that if people were working more remotely and that was the norm or hybrid, then you don't need as much office space. But actually, you might need the same amount because we actually need to space the desks out a little bit differently, and we need to reconfigure the workspaces so they are more secure and whatever this new normal is that we'll talk about. And we don't quite know how it's going to work and how people want the office configured. So, we have quite a nice open plan office at Covea in Halifax. The office in Reading is pretty open plan as well, and in Westmoreland. So, it could be that we just return. We might need to configure the office slightly differently. For some organisations, though, it might be a good opportunity to downsize their outlay on, electricity, rent, network, data centres and things like that. It might force them to move off-prem into more, cloud-based data centres and things like that. So there's opportunities to cost save in some of those things. And then if you look at the marketplace, that might actually just then be offset by slightly different salaries and things like that because people are now working remotely across, the whole of the UK.
Yeah. And if that was the case, what's the answer when there's more heads wanting to come into the offices than desks available?
I actually chatted about this morning. So I chatted about this because we're talking about people working in tech, not using tech to their advantage. So, it takes 2 minutes to create a QR code. Just create a QR code, put it on every desk, build an app that then shows what desks are allocated or booked for that day. And then you have a certain amount of desks that are free, you just go in, you scan the QR code and it updates the app. It's not rocket science. You gave that to a bunch of your engineers, they'd probably knock it out in a sprint, not a problem. Probably in a couple of days, to be fair, to some squads. So let's use technology, let's use our skill sets to actually make it better for us. There's things like that we can do. I think really, really simple.
Okay, so with that hybrid working world, how do we stop bias to those who aren't working in the office and coming into the office, or those who are? So encouraging fair treatment and their welfare.
I think this comes down to good working practices and respect. So, if you're working in an agile scrum type area, then, one of the core values is about respect and honesty, and having that courage to do things. So set up things, set up a team charter, set up a clear meeting agenda. So if there is a meeting that's happening and there's 6 people in the office and 4 people remote, make sure that everyone, if you're facilitating that meeting, make sure everyone has a voice. Just because they're a laptop screen, I think back to like old films. Like I'm quite old, you can tell by my beard. But there's a film called Demolition Man with Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes, and they had this meeting, and it was just like chairs with people's faces on in that meeting. Why can't we just have a laptop screen up with someone's face on? So I mean, it's there, and you can see that person, and everyone just shares their laptop and gets a laptop screen with those people on. Or make sure that, if you've got a big TV, then everyone that's remote has an equal size pane on the TV, and you make sure that you involve them in all the conversation. Little simple things like the wooden spoon. So whoever's holding the wooden spoon or the pig or whatever you want to have is the person talking, and set it so that people know that we've got these remote people and this is what we're going to do with them. So you involve them. You don't. It's about people, isn't it? People miss people as well during this, so let them feel part of it.
Yeah, that kind of leads us quite nicely onto how will you ensure that your team have the feeling of being connected?
I will make some work. No, I think we'll try and without bombarding them with polls and surveys, we'll have places where they can raise challenges, and we'll try and reinforce like that 360 feedback loop that's always in there. You know, we've got tools already that can provide feedback, so let's re-promote them. Let's make sure that people understand that if they've got a concern, maybe we'll have like a welfare champion. Maybe we'll have a part of these things that will grow. And hopefully with like my new sort of like area and team and things like that will grow, because the need for them will grow to help guide that cultural maturity in a slightly different work environment. But I think, you know, at Covea, we have like really, really strong core values for across the whole company, not just digital. And I think it's about using those values. So where things aren't working, we want you to challenge us, and we want you to respect and come there. We want you to tell us when things aren't right and how you would make them work. And we want you to like help us be better. You know, those values are not there as a thing to stick on the wall or something on the website. It's about making us better as people and making us better as a company and as an organisation. So that's how we'll try and do that.
And with those values and ethos, how will you ensure that they remain the same when not everyone is in the office? So, for example, new people joining the business.
So we have actually just been working on this as well. You know, it's like we prepped this now. You know, so. So we've been working on an induction pack that everyone will get, you know, and it's related to where they fit. So we have we loosely follow the Spotify model. So we have planets instead of tribes and squads. So what we're doing with these packs is we are assigning the new starter a pack that is bespoke to them, tells them where they fit in the planets, show them good people to know, good people to speak to. We're also assigning them a buddy. So a buddy within their squad and a buddy outside of their squad. So the buddy in their squad will help them with the navigation around Jira, the backlogs, Git repositories, etc., and help them in that respect. And to understand where the squad has come from and where they're going. And then the person outside of the squad will be there to help them with that welfare bit, help them with fitting in at Covea, letting them know where they can get the wage slips from online, letting them know how to request a holiday, little bits like this here and there that just make them feel part of the family, and make them feel wanted and valued. And I think that's the key thing is like, you know, to remote set up someone. You know, we've remote set up quite a few people over lockdown, but this is like the next iteration of that. And then if that works well, then, you know, maybe we set up like a little web page for them that welcomes them, add some videos from their line manager, from like the head of engineering, things like that. So just to make them feel on that first day or before that first day that they really wanted.
Fab. So with that, can the fear of failure be supported within a hybrid world? And how will you manage that without the human interaction?
So fear of failure, I think, only comes from your culture. So fear of failure is something that everyone has. So I don't care like if you're Bill Gates, Simon Sinek, whatever, you know, Stephen Bartlett, then you will have a small amount of fear of failure or imposter syndrome intrinsic in just the human psyche. And I think the culture is something that can either amplify that or help you manage it. So we don't seek to blame people for anything in what we do. So if someone, you know, like Thomas Edison said that, you know, he tried 999 different ways to make a light bulb before he found the right way. So you just found a way not to do something. So it's not a failure. It's just a success because you've successfully learned that this thing won't work. You have to do it a different way. So it's about reframing that and making sure that people understand it. So, you know, they can speak up that this ticket hasn't been delivered and, you know, this thing didn't work. This spike didn't quite work out how we thought it might work out. But actually, that's not a failure. It's just changing the perception of their feeling and helping challenge them and helping coach along to make sure that they feel supported and letting them know that there is support in case they are struggling. So, we have a great employee assistance program. We've got, we've recently launched things with Vitality, and we've got Vitality Healthcare and like discounts and all those things across. So it's about the people, because we're not clever enough yet to have made robots that can code as well as people and change and do that. And the day that comes, then we'll have maybe a bit of a worry, but I think we're a long way away from that yet.
So without being able to pick up on those kind of human feeling prompts, how do you think the hybrid model will affect attrition within the business?
So I don't think we'll stop being able to pick up on those human feelings. I think that's about still having those regular catch-ups, still having those one-to-ones, still having that interaction with your squads. And I think there'll be more onus on like the lead engineers and the senior engineers to have that and to help coach and guide people through. So I don't think we'll lose that human interaction. It will just be over a different medium. So, if we needed human interaction, then Tinder would never get off the ground. You'd still go to a nightclub to find someone. You wouldn't just swipe left and swipe right. The technology is there. You just use it in a different way, and you have to get used to it. So you're not going to lose that unless you didn't have it in the first place.
Yeah.
So if it was a false sort of like, that 5 dysfunctions of a team where there's false harmony because no one addresses the conflict or the challenge because they don't think anything will work, then they don't trust people, then that will just exemplify that and amplify it. Whereas if you have that trust, if you respect people, if you make them feel part of your family and, your family, like your organization's family and part of the value that they feel, then they will be open and honest if they've got a mechanism and a tool and an output, whether that be the buddy that they've got, if they're a new person, whether that be their line manager, whether that be a coach or a mentor that they have within the organization, there's a way for them to get that message across. I suppose what we need to work out is around that, the challenge around sometimes people, if they are feeling vulnerable, the anonymity that they might want. So if we could have a problem box where people can drop stuff and then we can reply, just put like a general reply in there. So we don't obviously know who it's come from, but we can say like, if you're feeling this way, then you can go to this person. We've got mental health first aiders. You can have this, or we've got technical engineering principles that you can, if you've got a problem with this thing, you can go and speak to this. Vegas might be a great person, blah, 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 to do this one, so there's ways we can get around it. I think it's understanding those challenges and tackling them head on and getting, I think like the worst problem that we will have is if leaders try to implement the changes. We need to empower the people back to own their challenge and own their problem and come up with ideas, and then as leaders enable that to come to life. Yeah. So, the best thing about a leader is seeing someone grow. It's not about telling someone what to do. That's a manager, and what we need to do is create that culture of leadership where people will come through, people will feel that they can step forward. And I think that's the best way to approach it, is to get, if someone sees a problem, change the mentality for like, there's a problem over here, Sarah. So like, I saw this challenge over here, Sarah, and I think this might work to help us overcome it. And then you go, right, okay, I like that idea. I can see it's got legs. Go away and try and work it. Get other people on board. Share it. We've got Slack channels with guilds and well-being and all these other comms channels out there. Let's use them and let's maximize their impact and effectiveness.
Yeah, and have you got anything in place of how you want to encourage people to speak up in those situations at the moment, or is it something that you want to implement?
So we have an Ask Us Anything session that goes to SLT, and they use Slido. So obviously some people put their name on, some people are anonymous, and they can ask 2 members of our senior leadership team any questions that they want. So that's there. I'd like to see that filter all the way down. So it's not just SLT. So it's maybe like that layer of middle management in between SLT and the actual people that do the day job, and bring the money in. So maybe like we have like that boy zone moment, where everyone is sitting on stools and they just like get asked questions and someone picks it up or whatever. We need to try and take that model and then filter it down so everyone feels that. So it's something that's there, but we can make it better.
So within quality and a hybrid world, how will this be managed? So, for example, trust, code sharing, the day-to-day side of things.
I think that's something that we've had to do, over this last year or so. So, the Scrum of Scrums has become probably the most important ceremony in the Scrum world, where, your different squads come together to share what they're doing, highlight dependencies and get that. So I think as long as you've got time and dedicated resource to make sure those things happen, then that's okay. And if they're not, then that's probably where your engineering leads and your principals and, your gatekeepers, or, if you've got, your DevOps and your platform type people, making sure that they're happy, making sure that your automation engineers and your quality assurance people are fully up to speed and engaged all the way through, so they can ensure the quality of what you're outputting from a requirement or a feature or a product point of view. And then just, making sure that either your Scrum Masters, I think like this is one of the internal problems, isn't it? Like, a Scrum Master is a servant leader who is supposed to be there to make sure that everyone does the job that they do in an immature organization without them being there. So they hold their stand-ups, they hold their retros, they do their planning. When there's dependencies and blockers, they go out and actively do that rather than relying on the Scrum Master to do it. And I think like we almost need to like put that mentality into everyone, that everyone is a servant leader and everyone has the potential to be a leader in their own right. So they can go away and fix these problems by themselves. Give them the tools, give them the channels, give them the names, give them the access to do whatever they need to do.
And what about on a personal level, for example, ensuring that people work the allotted hours, if it's a kind of 9 to 5 or offering flexible working? How are you managing that?
So people can see if you're working more or less than you need to. But I think in going forward, is it about hours? And I think like, do we need to change how we address these type of things? So, do we need to treat everyone more as a contractor in that, that contractor mentality where you're actually given a statement of work and this is what you do, and you can put like 700 hours into it or 5 hours, as long as you get that piece of work done to the right quality measures, then that's what you need to do. So I think the world of a busy fool is gone. Yeah. So I think this is maybe where like one of the advantages of the lockdown has come around, is that the world of the busy fool is gone. People that should go from meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting, and then it's become more like just calendar stacking and looking important. I think that's gone for people. I think like the respect for that has gone a little bit as well. I think we need to then make sure, one thing that we did, because we realized this was happening to our engineers, we blocked out the afternoon of every day for engineers. So that's engineering focus time. So if you've got sprint ceremonies, scrum ceremonies, whatever, they happen in the morning, meetings happen in the morning. The afternoon is focused on engineers so they can code, because an engineer cannot code if they're constantly context switching, dipping in and out and stuff. So we've put that in place because we realized that engineers may be working longer hours because they were trying to catch up on it's about your passion. If your passion is code, then you will naturally not feel like you're at the burnout stage because you enjoy doing it. it's all the other stuff that goes with it that is gonna put that burnout and that tiredness feel. And it's all very well saying find your passion, but it's hard. But as long as you believe in the purpose of what your organisation is doing, and the purpose of what your squad and your team are doing, then that can help. And get into people as well. So get into people that, if we are going to measure hours and output and stuff, then let them know that as an organisation, as a business, if you're assigned to do 35 hours a week, for example, and you're regularly doing 50 hours a week, 15 hours overtime, what you're actually doing is masking for the organisation that they've A, got too much work in, or B, they've not got enough resource, because you're covering over those cracks. And you can only cover over them for so long before you burn out, or you go, do you know what? I've had enough of this. I've been doing all these extra hours and I've not got any acknowledgement for it. I'm off. But then you just find you do the same somewhere else. So you just mask those cracks over there as well. So I think we have different ways to do that. We have a timesheet. It's the bane of everybody's life. People fill in and say what they've been doing in working on. But, we can see when people are logging on, people are logging off. You can see on Slack when people are online and offline. So you'll sort of get a feel of it. And I think that's where your line manager and your scrum master really come in, is to go, do you know what? This person committed a bit of code at 27 minutes past 9 last night. And they were on first thing in the morning. So they've done 12, 13 hour day there. What's going on there? Is it that they were struggling and you can reach out and find out? Or is it they just really want to get it done because they wanted Friday off and they're just sticking extra hours in and working flexibly? I think just honesty and giving people the focus to deliver what they need to deliver. Maybe don't look at hours, look at how many points and how many tasks they got through in the sprint.
And you just kind of touched on it there. So burnout. Without that commute and wind down time, are we at further risk of accelerated burnout with this work from home and having your office in your lounge or in your dining room, for example?
Yeah, we probably are, to be fair. And I think that, I've certainly found that a challenge. I used to love driving the 45, 50 minutes into the office and then driving home at night because I can listen to music that my kids think are rubbish. I can do that and sing away to my heart's content, or I can listen to an audiobook or a podcast and I can do things like that. So that was definitely the benefit of going into the office for me. But then at the flip side, I've seen my wife and my sons more than I've seen in the last few years over this last year. And that's been great. I can take them to school once or twice a week. I can be here when they're home. So is that novelty of that hasn't worn off for me. But I do, there was a stage where I probably bought more alcohol than I'd ever bought in my life during lockdown because I'd have a busy day and stressful day. I'd walk downstairs and I'd just get a beer out of the fridge because that was the only way I could get to wind down. And there is that sort of the lockdown bulk that people have put on because they're they've just drank so much and then they've had a kebab and whatever, just do this. But then we also introduced it's not the end of the day, but in the middle of the day. We introduced the digital pause. So people are encouraged, we put it in a calendar invite in everyone's diary. People are encouraged to, at that stage, log off everything, go for a walk, do some exercise, sit down, watch some TV, catch up on Netflix or whatever they wanted to do, get some lunch. People need to eat, and have a drink, so those are the things that you need to manage yourself. We talked about taking some ownership of some things. You've got a family, you've got friends. Some people don't have family and friends, but they might have hobbies and they might have activities that they do. You might have sport that they can do again now, but everyone could go out for a walk, or just get outside and sit in nature. Like, I'm quite lucky. I live like not far from the Yorkshire Dale, so like I literally walk 5 minutes out that way, and I'm in a field and by a river and stuff. So that's been really useful. Not only because now with Vitality I get points because I do a lot of walking, but I think I think I heard it. I don't know if I heard it on a well-being podcast or something that this chap used to just walk around his village. He used to get up at the same time that he used to get up to go to work, and he just used to walk around his village for the same amount of time as it would normally take him to get to work, and do it the same on the way home. He would just get up and walk around, and like someone stopped him and said, "What are you doing?" He goes, I'm doing my commute to work, or I'm just doing my commute home." Because then in his head he could figure out the things that he would normally figure out on the way home. He would psych himself up by walking around, getting ready, his mind ready for the day at work. And that's a great thing to have done. Like, if I didn't have kids, I'd probably do that myself.
Fab. And just finally, to finish this off, is there anything from our conversation that's made you kind of think about what you'd like to implement with your team, or anything you would like to add at all?
No, I think these sort of conversations are brilliant, and I think I've reflected that I'm actually quite lucky working for an organisation that are doing a lot of these things and are trying to address some of these things, or giving me the scope to be able to implement some of them as well. So that's quite good. And I think what we need to remember, like I said right at the very start, is that engineers, software engineers, developers, automation engineers, QAs, platform, whatever, product owners and scrum masters, even those people as well, we're all people. Do you know what I mean? And lockdown has probably emphasized the human need for humans. So if we are working remotely going forward or more hybrid, then make sure that you understand that those people have their challenges too. Focus more on the person that you're speaking to rather than treating them as just a colleague and a workmate. I think it's like focus more on them, like get to know their, if you only, we had one person who we only saw from the shoulders up, and she went on maternity leave and no one knew she was even pregnant. You know what I mean? It's like, how do you pick up on those little things? And that's, get to know people's like facial expressions. If you have a meeting that's cameras on every day and this person starts turning up with their camera off, just drop them a message on Slack. Just reach out to them. It may be all they need is someone to reach out and let them know that someone cares. So yeah, just think about people. Think about what you would do if you were in their situation.
Thanks for your time, Paul.
Good. I've enjoyed it. Cheers, Sarah.
And that's us. That's it. Done. How do you feel that went? Is there any questions that you'd like to maybe recap, or anything that you'd like to go over, or anything that you'd like us to add when we do the type up?
No, I think I went all right.
Yeah? No,
yeah.
Well done, guys.
Yeah. Is there anything you think I should have said that I didn't say, or didn't say that I did?
No. I think it was perfect.
Yeah, and it's good to kind of have that flow and kind of bounce around the questions to work off what you've kind of discussed. Yeah. And well, the way that we obviously once we've typed it all up and we've got the recordings and such, we will share them with you to ensure that you are happy with us to publicise everything that you've said and obviously get the go ahead from your perspective. That's how to. No, it's really insightful, and it's good to hear that you have so much in place. I know when we had this conversation with Dan, which will be being released soon, so you'll be able to listen back to that as well. He talks a lot about what you guys are doing that he wants to implement. So the fact that he implemented it, and it's a really good mentality and really good opportunity for you guys, especially this kind of digital pause. I think that's such a great idea.
It is. And we've even got a Slack channel to go with it. So like if people want to post what they've done on their digital pause, they can. It's like I posted pictures of me walking in the rain, or, just like nature. Lambing season at the moment, so there's loads of lambs around by me at the moment. So No kebabs, but lots of plans.
No, and I think it helps, like you touched on there, like spending time with your family. That's time that you'll never get that back.
No.
Such vital. It's vital times with your kids. That
Yeah.
you need to have in your life, and obviously it's stuff that you wouldn't not normally missed. Really.
Yeah, definitely. Like, there was a stage where I was probably seeing both of them, like maybe for like half an hour at night when I got home. So much so that they started waking up early to see me before I went to work. So it's like then that now like they both sleep until about 7 a.m, and we have to wake them up because they're used to us being here. And my wife's a nurse as well, so she was often out at the same time as me in the morning. Then like her mum used to come up and then look after the boys and take them to school because it's only like 5 minutes down the road. So yeah, that's like invaluable. You can't get that. That's one of the benefits, I think, the pros of lockdown has been.
Definitely.
But can't wait to hug my mum this weekend. I haven't seen her for like since February last year.
So is that this weekend coming up?
Yeah, I haven't told the boys yet.
Oh, that would be so good. Is she local?
No, she lives on the Wirral, so we're in Yorkshire. She's down on the Wirral, so yeah.
Amazing.
It's been good. Can't wait.
That's so good for you.
Lots to look forward to. I think that's a good thing, isn't it? Like we've got so many of these things that we actually took for granted before lockdown, and probably like some things that you just like glazed over. And you're like, oh, my mum, what does she want now? Like now it's like, oh, me mum.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think it sounds ridiculous to say it, but I think lockdown has helped a lot of people kind of take that step back and reevaluate what is important to them.
Yeah, and I think it's key. Like mental health has got like such a great sort of push and awareness during lockdown. It's been like is massive, and I think that's a brilliant thing to have happened. People realizing that actually everyone probably has a little mental health issue here and there. Everyone feels down sometimes. How can you help? How can you find those triggers? How is you as if you want to be like real like hard ass capitalist about it, sad people don't make you money. Do you know what I mean? Because they don't output good quality code. They don't output, or they create a toxic mood hoover in your organization. So if you've got sad people, don't go all Coldplay and Chris Martin and try and fix them, but try and give them the tools and the support to be able to get them out of that situation themselves, because they'll feel better about it, because they've managed to do it. Yeah,
I absolutely love that phrase that you just used there. Don't go all Coldplay on them. Love that. I'm going to use that.
You can use that one. Trademark.
I am going to steal it. It's a great one. But no, it's been really helpful that you've taken part.
Yeah,
taken part in this.